Imagine being born into one of history's most powerful dynasties, only to discover you're basically the human equivalent of a spare tire. Welcome to the nightmare that was the life of a pharaoh's backup son. Your sole purpose? To stand around looking almost regal while your overachieving brother gets the throne, the glory, and an over-the-top gold-plated sarcophagus. Today, we're unrolling the dusty scrolls of ancient Egypt to expose why being the other son was a one-way ticket to obscurity, endless sacrifice, and way too much goat herding. Spoiler alert, your afterlife condo is less eternal bliss and more broom closet chic. 1. The hierarchy of heirs, or how to be ignored forever. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh's firstborn son wasn't just the heir. He was considered the living incarnation of Horus, destined to ascend as a god king. And you were essentially the kingdom's insurance policy, the Plan B. While your brother was busy mastering statecraft, diplomacy, and perfecting the art of rocking a flashy Kepresh crown, you were handed a clipboard and told, "Go manage the granaries, champ." The royal family tree was less like a branching tree and more like a rickety ladder, with the firstborn perched at the top and everyone else scrambling for scraps. Take Ramses II, for instance, who fathered over 100 children. The backup sons in his dynasty often ended up with laughably ceremonial titles like Overseer of the Royal Ostrich Feathers or Keeper of the Sacred Sandals. Your mission? To look important in a family portrait without ever being important enough to actually rule. And if by some cosmic twist your brother met an untimely end, suddenly you'd be pushed onto the throne. But the court would murmur, "He's no real pharaoh," while the priests exchanged skeptical glances during rituals. Even the Nile would seem to flow with less enthusiasm in your honor. 2. Divine chores, or how to please gods who hate you. As the backup son, your primary duty was to keep the gods content, a thankless task that was about as enjoyable as scrubbing temple floors in a sandstorm. While your golden boy brother performed sacred rituals at Karnak and commanded the respect of the masses, you were relegated to the backroom, polishing statues of Sekhmet, the lioness goddess of war, who, judging by her glare, probably found your efforts more insulting than inspiring. Religious festivals were the ultimate torment. During the Opet festival, when the golden child paraded through Thebes in a shimmering gilded bark, you were assigned the soul-crushing job of carrying the sacred basket of figs and ensuring that the ceremonial baboon didn't bolt. Spoiler, that baboon had more freedom than you ever would. Ancient scribes even poked fun at backup sons in texts like the Satire of the Trades, calling them those poor souls who lug offerings until their backs break. And then there was the notorious said festival, a jubilee meant to renew the pharaoh's strength. Your role? Sprint laps around the temple in a loincloth as priests awkwardly chanted, "May the backup son, not trip." Meanwhile, your brother luxuriated with massages and new pyramid blueprints. Talk about a rough gig. 3. Tomb envy, or your afterlife is a joke. If you thought life as a backup son was miserable, wait until you meet your afterlife. In death, the inequality only grew worse. Your brother's tomb was an architectural marvel, gold-plated sarcophagus, elaborate book of the Dead Scrolls, and enough shabby figurines to staff an entire department store. Meanwhile, your tomb was a damp, forgotten hole in the Valley of the Nobles, with hieroglyphs that probably read, "Here lies someone." Probably. Archaeologists have uncovered the tombs of royal backups that are so modest, they might as well have been built with spare parts. Consider Prince Kamwezet, son of Ramses II, who despite his own accomplishments, he's even considered one of the first Egyptologists, ended up with a tomb ransacked within centuries. Meanwhile, Dad's pyramid still draws tourists like bees to honey. Even in death, you're left in the dust, an afterthought while your siblings' spirit feasts on celestial grapes and eternal adoration. And your funeral? Picture the high priest mumbling the rites like he's reciting a grocery list. May the gods, accept this guy. Next, your Ka soul would wander in the eternal void, watching your brother's spirit revel in luxury while you're left with a stale loaf and a side of cosmic indifference. 4. The Sacrificial Lamb Club, or Gods Demand Blood. When calamity struck, a poor Nile flood, a brutal drought, or the threat of invading enemies, guess who was volunteered as the scapegoat? Backup sons were the OG sacrificial offerings. Ancient documents like the execration texts reveal that royals frequently offered the spare son to appease the vengeful gods. If you were the backup, you were the one to be thrown to the metaphorical, or sometimes literal lions. Take the reign of Amenhotep III. When the Nile flooded disastrously, his backup son was dispatched to the temple of Sobek, the crocodile god, to mediate with the divine. Spoiler: crocodiles don't negotiate. They snack. Even the mummified remains of Prince Thutmose, sibling to the notorious Akhenaten, hint that his premature demise was likely a sacrifice to strengthen the dynasty. And if, by some miracle, you survived the ordeal, congratulations. You'd only be rewarded with even more drudgery. Great job not dying. Now go appease the next angry deity. Here's a sponge and a prayer. 5. Legacy. What legacy? Or, how to be erased from history. Fast forward a few millennia, and the story of the backup son has been all but erased. Your golden brother's face is plastered on souvenirs, t-shirts, and even featured in terrible CGI movies, while your name is relegated to a cracked pottery shard hidden in a museum basement. Egyptologists squint at these relics and mutter, must have been a scribe, or worse, a forgotten extra in the royal drama. Take Enkhaf, for example, the backup son of Pharaoh Sneferu. Despite overseeing the construction of the bent pyramid, a feat in itself, he remains a mere footnote. Meanwhile, Sneferu's other son, Khufu, got the ultimate glow-up by building the Great Pyramid of Giza and seizing all the glory. Even modern studies of royal DNA, as recent as 2020, hint that many unknown mummies were likely those spare heirs, discarded by history like yesterday's papyrus scraps. Your only glimmer of hope? A viral TikTok trend where someone resurrects your story with a cheeky hashtag #underratedroyal#. Conclusion. So, let's sum it up. Being a pharaoh's backup son sucked. You were the understudy in an eternal play where the lead never dies. A perpetual sacrificial lamb, a glorified goat herder, and history's favorite erased extra. Sure, you dodged some dangers, but you also got nothing more than a damp tomb and a lifetime of cosmic snubs. At least you never had to deal with pyramid contractors. But hey, if you'd rather spend your days herding goats than face a destiny of perpetual second best, then you're in good company. Smash that like button if you'd rather be a goat herder than a sacrificial backup. Comment below which royal participation trophy you'd hate most, mine's being the forgotten backup in a dynasty of legends. And subscribe, unless you're one of those sacred baboons wandering around.